Hello and welcome to our yoga class. My name is Vanessa and I'm here to support you for the rest of your practice. We'll begin class by laying on our backs and welcoming a full body stretch. So make your way down onto the mat, settling into a comfortable position, and then lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes. Noticing that right now you begin the practice of noticing your breath, shifting your attention to your body, letting go of your to-do list, arriving to this present moment. And we'll do our best to invite that continuously throughout the class. Please notice that our yoga practices are fluid and we have different experiences. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenging to arrive at this moment. Sometimes it's a little easier. So check in with yourself as you're inviting this full body stretch, opening around the chest, shoulders, lengthening the arms, lengthening your legs. You can even point your toes or rotate your ankles. You can swivel a little bit towards the left or towards the right. See where your attention falls. Release any compression, any tightness around the lower back, mid-back by lifting your abdomen up towards the ceiling. Inhale and exhale here. A few more moments with this full body stretch. And then after a few moments, you'll start to release your full body stretch. Bring both soles of the feet together. So you're coming into a butterfly pose. Your back is on the mat. Heels are pressing against each other. Heels and toes can be very softly. Doesn't have to be firmly. Hands are framing your hips, palms up towards the ceiling, or your hands can rest on your belly, chest. Your arms can be lifted, backs of the hands on the floor, elbows bent. And then notice here that it's a practice of softening the body. Notice where can you soften just 10% further. Curiously enough, when we're laying down on the floor of the mat, we will still hold on or lift our bodies in a way that we do not need to. So be purposeful here and softening down the neck, spine, hips. You can't even imagine those knees falling further down towards the mat. I recommend eyes closed. We're inviting a more restorative pose here in the beginning of class. Allow yourself to deepen into the pose. We'll be here for quite a number of breaths. We're regulating our nervous systems as we invite deep breaths, soften and relax the body. Notice that throughout our days, we tend to be thinking or have a lot of tasks. It's practice to slow down, and this is your opportunity to do so. Take a few intentional breaths. I recommend inhaling, exhaling, sighing out. As we sigh out, we release that physical, mental, emotional tension. We're building that bridge of the physical, mental, emotional body. We're also working on our mental concentration by noticing consecutive breath cycles. And you're going to invite that awareness of that breath as you're working on your strength, flexibility, and balance. For example, if you're in a pose that requires a lot of strength, be aware of how a nice, powerful breath can support you in sustaining and enduring that pose. Or if you're working on flexibility, notice how your breath supports you in deepening into that flexibility, noticing where that boundary is and pushing it a little further. And in our balance, notice how our breath assists us. Remaining steady with our breath, remaining steady with our balance. An intentional breath here, noticing that as we invite an intentional breath, we are welcoming our experience. We tend not to think about our relationship with our breath. Therefore, in a holistic yoga class, it's a good opportunity to see what's there for you. What about your breath is comfortable or uncomfortable? What about your full breath is supporting you, or what part of it is different? Feels different in your body. And no judgment of the breath. After some deep, intentional breaths, you can let your breath go back to its regular rhythm. Inhale, exhale. And then throughout the class, purposely regulate your breath in accordance to the pose. One more generous breath here in your butterfly pose. And then we'll start to bring both knees together. Soles of the feet are on the mat. Lift your hips as high as you can. Palms are on the mat. So you're starting to activate here around the glutes. There's a gentle stretch going on in the abdomen and the quads, depending on how high you lift your hips. So we have a tendency to collapse our hips. The workout here and the challenge here is to lift as high as you can. Now, it might be helpful inviting the imagery of a cord lifting you up from the center of your chest or abdomen up towards the ceiling. Distribute weight on your heels. And release back down towards the floor. Now rest your left ankle on top of your right thigh. We're going to use our hands to press our thigh away from us. Take 1 or 2 breaths here. And then weave your left hand between your legs, interlace your fingers behind that right thigh. You're breathing into your left hip here, and you can intensify that stretch by bringing your thigh closer towards your chest. It can be a very subtle shift. Breathe into your boundaries, simultaneously softening your neck and your shoulders. Inhale. And then exhale. Release. Both feet float off the floor. Grab both knees with your hands. Round your spine. Forehead towards your chin towards chest. Invite a stretch in the neck, upper back, mid back. And then release. Now right ankle. Rest on top of your left thigh. Use your hands to press your thigh away from you. Take a breath here or 2. And then release. Take your right hand, weave it between your legs, interlace your fingers behind that left thigh. Focus your attention on that right hip, right glute, even your lower back. Generous breath, breathe into your boundary. Soften neck and shoulders. Inhale. And exhale. Release. Both feet float off the floor, forehead towards your knees. Hold here. And then release. Let's lift up, lengthening our left leg, and then pressing our right foot right against our left thigh. Now I'm flexing my left foot, so I'm pressing my heel towards the front. I'm lengthening my spine, drawing my shoulders down. Notice your calf, your hamstring, and then leading through your chest, your heart start to fold. Hands can reach anywhere, thighs, shins, toes. Feel free to hear your inhale and your exhale. That helps you integrate your breath more with this stretch. You can be noticing anywhere from hamstrings, behind the knees, calves, glutes, lower back. Notice where your attention falls. Our hamstrings tend to be very tight. That's why we always address them in the beginning of class. Notice a breath that begins at the belly. We're still remaining here. A few extra breaths. Deepen yourself into this stretch. Notice your boundary. Breathe into it. Past that boundary. Not to a point that's painful. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Take that right foot onto the mat. Lengthen your left arm out. Twist towards the right. I'm lengthening my spine. My chin shifts towards that right shoulder. Okay, flex my left foot. And then release. Lengthen your right leg. Press your left foot against your thigh. Take a moment to flex your right foot, lengthen your spine. And then fold. You can keep that right foot flexed or you can soften your foot. Neck and shoulders soft. Breathe into your boundary, a few more breaths. This is definitely a practice of patience as well, being still with your body, breathing, noticing the stretch. There's not a lot of movement here other than perhaps mental movement. Inhale. Exhale, release. Take that left foot onto the mat. Take your right arm out. Twist towards the left. Now I'm flexing my right foot, being purposeful and lengthening my spine, drawing shoulders down, and then shifting my chin towards that left shoulder. Inhale. And then exhale, release. Let's shift out of these poses. We'll transition into a tabletop. Let's make sure we take care of our neck. Let's take our hands right beneath our shoulders. Take your gaze over your right shoulder, hold, noticing a stretch in the side of the neck. And then very purposely drop your head so the top of your head is parallel to the floor, and then you shift to look over your left shoulder. One more time on each side. Pressing through your palms for support, letting that head totally hang there. And then looking over your left shoulder. Inhale up, cow pose, purposely lifting your tailbone, opening your chest, and then purposely pulling your tailbone in as you round your spine, chin shifting towards chest. Again, moving at your own pace, quickly or slowly. It's all right if you remain in a cow pose or cat pose, an extra cycle of breath or two if you prefer to hold the pose to explore what's opening there, what feels tense, where there's some compression. Or you can move with your breath, inhaling cow, exhaling cat. So if you want that kind of quick movement, that rhythm, that expectation, what's the word? I'm trying to think of expectation. Like you want a couple of breaths, inhaling, exhaling, you want to expect that sort of flow, you can invite that. Or again, hold a cat pose or hold a cow pose. Inhale. Exhale, wherever you're at, about one more round in each pose. We'll eventually meet at a neutral tabletop. A neutral tabletop, best description here is hands beneath your shoulders and then hips about, or knees about hips width distance apart. We're going to focus on opening up quads and hips. Lift your right leg and then bend your knee and then stack your hips here. Hold. So the more you bend your knee, the more you'll activate a stretch around the quad. Hold. And then release. Opposite side. Lift your left leg. Bend your left knee. Stack your hips. Bend your knee. Release. Press that left palm onto the mat. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Release. Opposite side. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Release. Let's shift up into a child's pose. A moment of pause here, but also a mental exercise here. Notice 5 consecutive breath cycles. Inhale, exhale to one breath. Inhale, exhale to second breath. And then notice your third, fourth, and fifth breath at your own pace. And after those 5 breath cycles, start to inch that right hand towards the left corner of your mat. And release. Now enter your left hand towards the right corner of your mat. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hand. Inhale. Lift up into your tight tabletop. Inhale up, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. Lift up, downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, sweep your arms up overhead. As you sweep your arms up overhead, release your hands in front of your heart center. Take a moment here to be intentional, noticing your fingertips touch, noticing right palm press against left palm press against right palm. We're arriving to this moment, welcoming our breath and our experience. Eyes opened or closed. Inviting a generous breath, ribcage, belly expand. Notice your toes, heels, that line of energy from the base of the spine to the top of your head. Inhale, exhale. Imagine inhaling through the pores of your skin, exhaling through the pores of your skin. Broaden that awareness of that breath, inhale and exhale for a whole body experience. Tap into that imagination. If your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes. We're still with that imagery of that full body breath. Release your hands. Inhale, lift your arms. Sun salutation. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release that back plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath there in your down dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, sweep your arms up overhead. So we're preparing for 2 more sun salutations, creating our own personal rhythm, absorbing ourselves into the practice. We've taken an inviting breath. Release our hands, arms lift, we're extending to the spine. Exhaling, diving down, being mindful of softening neck and head in that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose, move through your vinyasa. Take a breath in that down dog. Lift up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Moving with intention and presence, gathering the energy of the day, integrating it down to your heart center. Notice that visual. Third sun salutation, we lift our arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, move to your vinyasa. Once you reach that down dog, remain there into that down dog. Take a few breaths in that downward facing dog. You're in the inversion here, pressing your palms, bringing your chest closer toward your thighs. Breathe into your hamstrings, the balls of your feet. Invite that full body breath. Imagining inhaling through all the pores of your skin and exhaling through the pores of your skin. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, let's roll up to standing, our arms dangle. Head comes up last, and so slowly.
Pressing through your heels, lengthening your spine.
Mountain pose, hands framing our hips. Let's invite that stillness and that strength in this mountain pose. I recommend either closing your eyes or keeping your gaze steady across the room. Check in with your breath. Where is it at? If I try to move you, it'd be difficult to do so because you're active. Heels grounded on the mat, core active, arms purposely lengthening, fingertips purposely spread wide. It'd be difficult for me to do so if I tried to push you. Inhale. Exhale. Mountain pose. Another breath. And then notice that transition. After that breath, notice that transition as you soften the body. Very good. Notice that transition. We're noticing the subtleties in our bodies, those subtle ways that we move our body. Now interlace your fingers behind you. Draw your shoulder blades closer together. Take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Exhale, fold down. Elbows long behind you. Soften your neck, your head. And then release your hands, left hand onto the mat. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Bend your left knee generously. Keep your gaze up towards the ceiling. You can press through that right heel, lengthening your leg for a deeper stretch there in the hips, hamstrings, glutes. There's a lot going on here in this pose. You're in a twist. You're activating that lower body and that upper body. Generous breath. And then release opposite side, right hand onto the mat. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Bend your right knee generously. Lengthen that left leg by gently pressing on your heel. Take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Invite a breath. And release. Slowly roll up to standing. Hands either framing your hips or hands in front of your heart center. Choose either of these two expressions of mountain pose. Notice where your breath is. Take an intentional breath, uniting that physical, mental, emotional body. We'll inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out. We're going to prepare for our warrior three, our balance. And then from our warrior three and balance, we'll shift into a half moon pose. And I'll go ahead and break those poses down. First, let's try a two-legged balance, lifting our arms up overhead, taking a moment here to acquaint ourselves with that experienced balance. In this case, it's with 2 feet, but notice those shaky little vibrations in balance. Notice how your breath may change. Be intentional here and inviting an even breath. Keeping your gaze steady. And as we shift into a warrior three and a half moon pose, same principles here, an even breath, a steady gaze. Release your hands and then pedal your feet back and forth. All right, so warrior three, we're gonna focus on anchoring our left foot onto the mat. We're gonna take our right foot just a foot behind us. You wanna keep your hips squared towards the front. You're gonna take your hands in front of your heart center, and you can remain the whole pose with your hands in front of your heart center. You also have the options of bringing your arms out to a T or out forward like a superhero. So you can see where you're comfortable, what you're comfortable with. And just depending where you are with your warrior three, it's all right if you're just floating that foot a few inches or feet off the floor. Otherwise, the full expression of that warrior three will mean that your chest and your leg are both parallel to the floor. Keep your gaze steady. Feel free to step in or out of the pose and try it again. This requires a lot of opening here in our hips and glutes and hamstrings, lots of core strength.
Steady breath. And now release both hands onto the floor. Now this is where we prepare for our half moon pose. Make sure that left hand is right beneath your shoulders. Now you can go through two phases here, taking that right hand to anchor around that right hip. And if you remain there, and slide that right shoulder back, open up your chest, and lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then as you lift that right arm up towards the ceiling, you can take your gaze up towards the ceiling as well. And then release that right foot to meet that left foot. Fold in your forward fold. Remain here, cupping your elbows with your hands. Soften your neck and head. And then release, start to slowly roll up. Check in with your breath. Either expression of mountain pose, hands framing your hips, or hands in front of your heart center. Building the connection of the physical, mental, emotional body. We inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out. Two-legged balance. Release your hands, arms lift. Palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels. Halfway or all the way up. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hands, release your heels. Now we'll focus here, anchoring our right foot onto the mat, lifting our left leg, hands in front of your heart center. Come into any expression there with your hands. Chest and leg are parallel to the floor. Activate your core. Even breath. And then prepare for your half moon pose. Right hand is directly beneath your shoulder. Lift your left leg, open up your chest as you take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Feel free to step in or out of the pose. Steady breath. Release that left hand onto the mat. Left foot meets that right foot. Soften neck and head. Elbows are relaxed. Neck is relaxed. Slowly roll up to standing, grounding through your heels. Finding an expression of mountain pose that works for you. Hands in front of your heart center or hands framing your hips. This is definitely part of the more difficult parts of yoga. And inviting that inner stillness, inner spaciousness. Right now, there is no hurry. There are no tasks. It's just you, your breath, your body. After another breath or two, release your hands. We're going to come down to our malasana, a squat. So you're going to lengthen, you're going to widen your stance just a little bit, and then take your hands in front of your heart center, bend your knees, and then lift your heels. You might tilt forward a little bit, that's okay. You can press your elbows right against the inside of your knees there. Hold. and release. We'll come to sit in a cross-legged position. A little mini meditation and mental exercise. Let's notice 5 breath cycles. Inhale, exhale, first breath. Inhale, exhale, second breath. At your own pace, notice your 3rd, 4th, and 5th breath cycles. Chest is open, spine long, shoulders relaxed. Noticing your breath rise and fall. And if your eyes are closed, open your eyes. Keep your hands resting softly on your knees. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears and then draw them down. 3 times, lifting up. I'm very purposely drawing my shoulder blades closer together as I draw them down. Very simple poses, or very simple movements in your body, but you want to be present with these simple movements. Now 3 times forward, shoulders up, and then forward. Now lift your arms up overhead. Take your hands right behind your head, elbows are bent. Hold. Leading through your chest, your heart, twist towards the left and towards the right. And then after a few rounds, release. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling, stretch towards the left. And now towards the right. Release. Press both soles of the feet together, lead through your chest, your heart, and hold. You can rest your elbows right on the creases inside your knees. Inhale. And exhale. Release. We'll come into our boat pose, little core workout here. So for your boat pose, you can take your hands to to grab your thighs, or you can take your palms up. So this will give you extra support if you grab your thighs. And then you lift your legs and lengthen your legs as much as you can. Imagine or lift your chest. You want to lengthen the spine. Palms can face up towards the ceiling, so either expression. This is a pose of both balance and strength. Inhale. And exhale, lengthen your legs. Another core workout, palms up towards the ceiling. Slowly release. And then drop your head all the way back. And then together, let's inhale here. Exhale, side up. We'll start to shift into a twist, bringing both knees up. We drop our knees towards the right, bring our arms out to a T, and then drop our head towards the left. Notice where can you soften just a little bit more. Melt your body towards the mat. Soften neck down the spine, hips. Imagine your knees falling further towards the floor. And then start to bring your knees back to center. Drop your knees towards the left. Drop your head towards the right. Once again, being purposeful and softening the body here. Bring your feet, or bring your knees back to center. Drop soles of the feet onto the mat. You're going to take the edge of your right foot towards the edge of the mat. Same thing with your left. So both edges of your feet towards the edges of your mat. So that means your knees come close together as if they're like a little mountain. Now drop that right knee so it's beneath that left knee. You're going to notice a stretch and opening here around the hip or the glute, maybe even the quad. Hold here. So that means the edge of your right foot comes off the mat, off the floor. And then release. So that edge of that right foot is once again on the edge of your mat. Both knees are now touching. And now opposite side, that left knee drops. You're just noticing that natural pull of gravity, pulling your leg down. Edge of your left foot comes off the floor or not. And then release. Both knees come up, both feet float off the floor, round your spine, forehead towards your knee. And then drop your head back. Grab your feet with your hands. And then lengthen one leg more than the other. Bend both knees generously. You want to get that final stretch from toes and heels down to the calves, hamstrings, hips, lower back and glutes, mid-back. You can massage your mid-back by rolling a little bit towards the left and towards the right. And then start to release your legs. We'll start to prepare for our final resting pose, our Shavasana. Lengthen your legs, palms face the ceiling, framing your hips. And here we notice that inner stillness and spaciousness we've cultivated throughout the class. We can ground that in this pose. In this pose, we're allowed to release, to let go, to receive, and integrate our practice physically, mentally, and emotionally. Here we learn the wisdom of doing nothing, of slowing down, of being still. Cultivate that ability, noticing that sometimes our Shavasanas are harder to get into, or sometimes they're easier. There's a spectrum of experiences here. You can invite deep intentional breaths in this last resting pose. Or you can allow your breath to go back to its natural rhythm, no control of the breath. Both have their benefits. Sometimes we'll subconsciously store tension in our forehead, jaw, and neck. So imagine softening and releasing further there. Soften the shoulders down the length of your arms, to your wrists and your fingertips, purposely softening your palms, noticing we tend to hold on to so much, literally and metaphorically. Soften your hands. Soften the upper back, mid back, lower back, down to the hips, behind the knees, down to your ankles and toes. Observe any thoughts and sensations without judgment. And then we'll start shifting our attention to our breath. Inhaling and exhaling here. Inviting a generous breath. Restore some movement to your fingertips and your toes. Full body stretch here. Or turn your body to one side, to the left or to the right. Once again, returning to your generous and your leisurely breath. And then we'll start to move up to our sitting position. And as you shift, notice that inner spaciousness and stillness you've cultivated throughout the class culminated in your Shavasana. And notice that at any time throughout your day, you can tap into the stillness and invite a deep breath into that stillness. So with that in mind, we'll conclude the class, taking our hands to our heart center. Let's inhale here and exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.